Hello, my name is Kevin Zhang, and for the last couple of years of my life, I've had the privilege of filming a lot of dancers, specifically freestyle dancers, where there isn't any choreography and moves are thought of on the spot, and you'd be amazed at what people can come up with. For my pitch, I'm creating a game based on this concept of freestyle dancing called Superexpress, a rhythm-based parkour platformer about dance, food delivery, and wiping away college debt. Superexpress stars Mary. She's a 22-year-old college student, part of an established dance group based in New York. Mary is overall a god at anything that deals with movement. Apart from dance, she's also very good at a lot of other things, including parkour and taekwondo. It's a video game, don't question it. In order to fund her college and dance career, Mary delivers food for an app called Superexpress. Utilizing all of her movement talents, she zips around the city every afternoon before dance practice, delivering orders in record time. This forms the basis of the platformer. Superexpress, in its core, is like Inside plus Mirror's Edge plus Crazy Taxi. Each level is a very compressed two-dimensional area of New York, with many restaurants and hungry customers spread out throughout the map. The goal for Mary is to find the path to most restaurants and customers within 10 minutes, whether through going into subways, jumping on rooftops, or even jumping on top of street signs. For Mary, she has a few basic controls such as being able to jump and roll, control her movement speed, as well as the ability to tech a landing just like in Super Smash Bros. For basic controls, the left stick on an Xbox controller will be used for movement, while the right trigger is used for jumping and the left trigger is for rolling or tacking. That's the base of the game, so here's the rhythm aspect. Historically, dance hasn't been easy to translate into games. So much of dance relies on subtlety and body control, and for the untrained, it's pretty hard to pick apart a style. But there are three styles that I think would translate well specifically to a platforming video game. The first is breakdancing, which is already quite familiar to parkour in its many flips and power moves and footwork. But the other two are house and hip-hop, which, as I've heard from many friends, just feel like you're running in place. Running in place? What if they just run? That's the idea. So during the game, whenever Mary starts any platforming level, you get to choose the song she's listening to. And while she's delivering food, she gets to dance to the song at the same time. The difficulty of forcing people to play this game like a high-level fighting game player is not lost on me, so the game won't be translating specific dance moves into control commands, but rather dance concepts that the game will translate into moves for you. So just as an example, let's say the up and down of the right stick represents two different ways of grooving in dance. Up represents house grooves, while down represents hip-hop grooves. And let's say, just for now, that house grooves are better for smaller beats, and hip-hop grooves are better for bigger beats. Demonstrating with this song, a player should try to hit the bass beats by slamming the right stick down with a hip-hop groove, and then occasionally hitting the smaller notes by hitting the control stick up very quickly. The kicker is that the better you're able to dance to the song, the more Mary herself sinks into the music. And when that happens, the streets of New York morphs into a stage better fit for the song, allowing you to complete your deliveries faster, giving you more opportunities to hit the beats for the song, such as extra areas for flips and parkour, and generally fitting to the tone of the song better from an aesthetic perspective. New York City isn't actually becoming transmorgified from Mary listening to the music, but it represents her perspective as she becomes more and more into her dancing, allowing her to enjoy her job more and do it quicker. If the player stops grooving along to the music, Mary herself will stop as well, and her perception of the Big Apple will go back to normal. Some other examples for dance moves: spinning the right stick, then pressing A could be a spin that varies depending on the type of groove that you were doing, and holding up while doing a jump could be a ballet spin. But overall, the point of this game isn't to teach players the dance moves, but to teach them how to listen to music. It's basically a rhythm game with a lot of freedom for how you hit the beats in a song. At the end of each level, everything is calculated into a score, with your number of deliveries weighted less than how well you dance to the music. Granted, how you judge dance is really subjective, but in general, it's these three things. Number 1, you should be on beat. Number 2, don't repeat moves and have a good bit of variation in your freestyle, changing up your grooves depending on the parts in the song that fit for it. But the one that tests the player the most is number 3, or big moments. Very special parts of a song where you pretty much just reserve one very special move just for that part. In real-world dance battles, being able to hit these moments matter a lot as to whether or not you're able to beat your opponent. And if a player can get it here, that will mean a lot for their score. Having mentioned that this is a score-based game, here are the implications for that score. In the game's story, Superexpress has a few tiers of delivery men that you have to earn in order to deliver to certain locations. In the lowest tier of Superexpress, Mary can only deliver in New Jersey. As she hits the score requirement in each level, she gets promoted to higher tiers of delivery and can go from Brooklyn to downtown Manhattan, and finally to the final boss of NYC deliveries, 42nd Street, otherwise known as the street Times Square is at. Each street will have one song that Mary can dance to at first, being a song that has a constant beat so that the player can learn the level most easily, and each level will get progressively harder than the previous. After the player unlocks the highest tier of Superexpress, each level will unlock 3 to 4 more songs for Mary to dance to of varying genres such as rap or lyrical, with the latter being the hardest as there's very few beats to hit and the freestyle has to be based on lyrics. At this point, the game doesn't have to be completed in a linear way. You can conceivably go hit the score requirement for every song in Times Square before you do New Jersey. Completing all songs in each level grants the player a cutscene to view the next piece of Mary's story, which is based on her desire to go from a person who simply dances in the front of her crew to becoming a full-on artistic director. And as the best dancers incorporate dancing into their daily lives, so will Mary as she keeps on dancing her daily life as a food delivery parkour person. Throughout the game, the player has the opportunity to take Mary to a dance class at any point, where they'll learn about musicality as well as new moves for Mary to learn, and also get the opportunity to practice as much as they want. The final level of the game will be unlocked after the final cutscene in an epilogue 3 years down the line, where Mary is a well-known choreographer teaching in Japan. Reminiscing the old days of delivering food in New York, she puts on the headphones and runs around imagining she was delivering food again. Functionally, this is the level creator for the game, where the player gets to create their own paths wherever they go in Tokyo. Production-wise, the game is aiming for a budget of around $2 to $5 million, with a production staff of around 10 to 20 people and a production time of 1.5 to 3 years within a game engine like Unity, aiming for all platforms, Nintendo Switch and above. The game will take around 7 hours to complete for people who rush, but will hopefully have enough replay value beyond the 40-hour mark as players try to aim for higher scores. In terms of graphic style, all the characters are aimed to have a cel-shaded or anime kind of look, with a baseline of something like the video game Haven, or preferably something like Genshin Impact or Guilty Gear. The backgrounds could be parallax 2D textures like a Makoto Shinkai film, or be hyper-realistic, whatever is cheaper. The biggest difficulty of this game for sure comes from the controls and the animation, both of which will need a lot of playtesting and developing. Dance is something that all games are still kinda struggling to animate today, and the controls are very unorthodox for a normal rhythm game. But honestly, I just want to see a game based on freestyle dance, whether or not it comes from me. From personal experience, it's an artistic form that's far too overlooked by mainstream media and developers, and hope someday someone gives it a try.